If you believe in traditional values, you're not a bad person. If you reject a lot of today's progressive politics, you're not a bad person. I feel like that needs to be said to open this video. I'm somebody who takes way more conservative positions than what would be considered progressive positions. And that, in many circles, is bad or considered bad. But I just want people to know it's not. I take my positions because I am, number one, a fan of history. I'm somebody who loves history. And historically, traditional values, more conservative values, have kept this country together. They've kept families together. They've certainly kept my family together. And there's lots of things that my family members have disagreed on. But ultimately, they agree on the underlying principles of family, God, traditions, freedom, life, liberty, the American way, so on and so forth. I know that the popular position to take today is I think or feel, therefore I am. And that is kind of what motivates this culture. And it's why we are in a culture war. You've got I think and feel, therefore I am. And then you've got another side saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, I take the approach of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. People can believe what they want to believe. They can live how they want to live. What they don't have the right to do is turn around to the people who think the opposite of them and attack them and try to get them demonetized on social media if they're monetized, or make them lose their job, harass them in that sort of way. They can debate them, they can discuss things with them if they're being reasonable. But if they're being completely unreasonable, it's condemnable. But that's where this culture war is at. It has become more vitriolic. Both sides are responding to each other in kind now. And part of the problem is it's so lopsided in the progressive direction. Most media leans progressive. And this isn't just my opinion or some sort of conspiracy. This is a stated purpose of many movie studios, game studios, comic book companies, etc., music record labels. Many people have stated that they take these positions over traditional positions. And if you take a traditional positions, we don't particularly want your money. And so the dividing line has been set. Historically, this stuff used to only be political, and pre-social media, this stuff used to not be as prevalent. It was there, but it took different forms, and the arguments usually didn't go too far. Now, with people being interconnected all of the time, the arguments are going on and on and on, and they're becoming more nasty, they're becoming more vitriolic, they're becoming more mean-spirited, and they're devolving into, some rare cases, violence. And it's getting worse. It's getting so much worse. On the entertainment front, it's getting to where if you have traditional values, you can't just enjoy something because you're going to be preached to at some point about why you're wrong. Or you're going to see stuff on screen that's being celebrated that you don't. You're being alienated. And it gets demoralizing. I understand that. I felt demoralized by it. This is my third time recording this, so you have to excuse me. Kind of winded here, but it is demoralizing. Because you just want to enjoy something that's neutral. You don't want something that's preachy. You just want something that you can unwind and enjoy, that's self-contained in its storytelling. Maybe it alludes to something in the real world, but it lets you draw whatever conclusions you want. Entertainment used to be like this. I used to love it, but now I can't stand it. I haven't been to the movies since Star Wars The Force Awakens. Because most movies today proactively say that because I have conservative Christian values, that I'm a bad person. And I don't want to be told I'm a bad person by Hollywood every 5 minutes. I don't know about you, but that doesn't exactly make me want to spend money on Hollywood. But it is a shame because I used to love Hollywood for what it was. And I don't think what it was bad. I don't think what it was racist or sexist or whatever. I think what it was entertainment, and people could come to their own conclusions about what that entertainment was saying or doing. What they didn't have to do is try to tear down and rebuild that entertainment into a progressive image that they think is good for everybody. Because it's not. It's one perspective. Just like my perspective is one perspective. You can fully disagree with it if you would like. But it's all slanted in one direction, and it alienates people. And people are saying this is nothing to do but online whining. The reason that there are so many counterculture people who go against progressive entertainment, is because, like I've stated, they don't want to be told all the time that they're wrong for holding principles that have traditionally been the norm. They don't want to be told they're wrong for believing in things that have kept their families together throughout centuries. They want to believe what is true and not be told by people who are there purely to entertain them, or supposed to be, that they're evil. They don't want to be told that. And you can't blame them for that. But that's exactly what's happening. And the reason this culture war is important is because it's going way beyond entertainment. It's getting political. It's going way beyond Twitter discourse. It's getting political. People are making policies. In other countries besides America, there are certain things that you cannot say now that are true that will get you fired, thrown in jail, and prosecuted. It's awful. It's truly awful. And it has me very discouraged. I have hope. My hope is in the Lord. But I am sad to see where things are headed. I know there's hope for the future. And it's going to take level-headedness. It's going to take people thinking before they speak, before they act. And it's going to take people letting go of the fact that people don't have to agree with a progressive utopian view of the world. That view of the world might be fine for you, but it might not be fine for your neighbor, and you need to accept that. Otherwise, there's no living with anybody. There's just you on an island with the people who you deem worthy. And when that happens, life becomes incredibly miserable. And you have these principles, but you have nobody to share them with in the end. That's no way to live. For me, I will always abide in both conservative principles secondarily, and primarily in biblical, evangelical, gospel principles, gospel-centered. The gospel is my ultimate goal. I want people to know Christ. But the underpinning of that, as far as American politics are concerned, is more conservative principles. There are some things I differ with many conservatives about, and I think that that's fine. I think that that's how it should be. One thing about the progressive left that disturbs me is that people can't divide on issues healthily. Otherwise, they fall victim to the same division that goes between left and right, and people end up cannibalizing each other. I've seen nasty arguments that have ended horribly this way. It's not something I like to see. But that's the state of things. You've got the rabid progressive left and the increasingly unstable conservative right, who's just responding in kind to the rabidness on the left. They're trying to be, I can tell more conservative people are trying to be more measured, but more are becoming emboldened to be less measured because the stakes are getting higher and higher. And when the stakes get higher and higher, they become less and less reasonable. But I want to encourage people to not give up on being reasonable, measured, and decent, because you don't want to become the thing you're fighting against. If you want America to be truly United States of America, you have to be willing to live and let live. Doesn't mean don't engage in debate or in arguments, but know when to pull the plug. Twitter is not a good place. Neither is TikTok. In some cases, neither is YouTube and neither is Rumble, because there's so much interaction with everybody all the time that there's barely any nuance in the conversation. People come emotionally loaded, ready to jump at whatever you say and jump down your throat and tear you apart. Sometimes you need to disconnect from all of that. And I need to take my own advice on that more often than not, because I end up feeling overwhelmed and discouraged. It demoralizes you. So sometimes you need to take a step back. There are people who are fighting this thing on the front lines. They're fighting for their principles on the front line. And the reality is that they may not see the war won in their favor ultimately. It might not. I'm fully prepared for that, because no matter where the world goes, I have Jesus. But ultimately, I think people need to understand, for the sake of their own mental state of being, they need to step back. Otherwise, they'll just become worse and worse, and they won't really win any of these battles. And you're not going to win battles. Ideologically, there are going to be people who, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, they're going to stay gridlocked in what they believe, and they're going to be vitriolic and mean-spirited and just not like you because you hold a specific position. It's very petty, it's very narcissistic, but it is where we're at. So we need to accept that. Reasonable people still exist in the world. I would encourage people to find those people, engage with those people, make media with those people if they're interested, and also to make media in general. If Hollywood and mainstream media and everybody else, if they reject you for your principles, then reject them for theirs. Don't engage with them. You don't have to be mean about it. You don't even have to say anything. Just walk away. Don't pay any money. Whenever people ask, say, oh, I don't engage with that. They don't like my principles, so I go off and make my own, or align with people who are okay with my principles. That's what needs to be done. I'm trying to make my own media. I'm making small comic strips and these videos, and I do railroad stuff. I make my own media, so that way, if Hollywood tells me, and gaming tells me, and music tells me that I'm some sort of terrible person for holding traditional values, I don't have to fall back on them. I'm not beholden to them. I could do my own thing, regardless of whether or not I find any sort of huge success. It doesn't matter. That shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be to make something you enjoy and that others enjoy as well, who may come across it. That's why I do these videos. I know most of these videos are lucky to get one view, let alone a like. But I do them because I enjoy to do them, and I like putting them out there, and I think they need to be put out there. So that's my perspective on the culture war as a whole. I think ultimately, I don't know when or if it's going to end. I hope it ends in my lifetime. I hope it ends sooner rather than later. I'm tired of seeing people at each other's throats every single day. The back and forth and back and forth. It's just demoralizing. I just want to enjoy stuff again. But the sides are so entrenched, and the progressive left side of it is so entrenched in the corporate culture, and it's got its entire back behind it to like 99%, that anybody going against it isn't optimistic, and they have to constantly respond to the nonsense coming from that side. It's just this back and forth that ugh, just gets tiring. I've talked multiple times about Disney. I've got a video on Warner Brothers I'm doing, what happened to Warner Brothers and what I think they need to do. You know, I do engage with this stuff a bit, but it gets tiring because it's nonstop. It's nonstop, and the vitriol, the anger, the attacks, everything that goes involved with being on one side or the other, it's it's endless, and it's mentally exhausting. But again, I think that there's hope. I think if people believe in their principles, if they don't like the progressive stuff and they believe in their principles and they keep standing against that, then they will find the ground that they need to succeed. They will create a subculture. If that's what is necessary, then so be it, and it will happen. If God's willing, it will happen. So that's all I got to say for now, is that it's the culture war is not in a good place, but I think it does, it's important because it's going to shape the way that people view one another. It's going to shape our entire culture at the end of the day. I think hopefully there's a good outcome to it, but the outcome does matter. So don't forget, and even if you're not taking part of it, understand that it does matter. People aren't just wasting their time with this thing. They are concerned with the state of entertainment. They just want things to be enjoyable by everybody. And I think that's the end goal. That's the biggest goal we can have, is stuff that's not completely slanted to one side politically and alienates everybody else. More neutral stuff. more transparency. So that's all for me for now, folks. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Super Koopa, and I will see you guys next time. God bless. Have a good one. Peace.